All right, people. Hello. Good morning. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right? Wow, it's that kind of day. It's also probably a Kiri emergency day because she did not do her business today. And so there is a 99.99999% probability of the weather shifting to Kiri emergency halfway through the stream, as we all know. Sorry, she's just been this way lately. So yes, good morning. Good morning. Now, coffee is not my problem, guys. Coffee is not my problem. Just too much stuff. But yeah. No tattoos. Actually, this would be a terrible subject for tattoos because of the texture, Gurgi. So yeah, you're gonna have to just file your rocky smooth or fill in the scale texture to do a tattoo on yours. That's for you. I'm leaving that one for you. I expect to see it on the Discord at some point. Personally, I think the anchor with the heart and the mom tattoo would be better. Although then he'd have to be like a seagoing dragon, so I should have painted it blue-green or something. Good morning, Inara. Yeah, it's been that kind of week. It really has been. I mean, Kiri's butt's been off, and my brain's been off, and yeah, pretty much the only thing in this household that hasn't been off is David. Yes, I know. I have to apologize for Kiri because I have to like let you guys know in advance and do like let people know like if I have to run out and put up the be right back, let them know that it's because Kiri had an emergency and I had to run out. If you haven't already, Justin is not currently with us. He had to go and mail some stuff out since he's at Reaper, and then he's got to drive home. So he will be bopping back in toward the end of the stream. Apparently, we are too well behaved. Apparently, that is our problem. Because he feels
like an easy problem to fix.
It does seem like an easy problem to fix, doesn't it? Yes. I blame 2020. That's probably accurate, Iffy. Probably accurate. Oh, good. Well, I mean, negative is good, Cornico. At least you can eliminate a bunch of stuff, right? Hopefully, Kitty's just got a cold. Like that happened to me once with my old kitty, his Panther, who is Mama-san's son. He came out. He had never been sick a day in his life, and he just suddenly went south. And I was like, oh no. But it turned out he just had a cold, and they had to give him fluids, and then he recovered in a couple days. So you never know. Cats are weird. Like it could be something as simple as that. Time for Reaper Chaos. Well, I'm pretty sure that Dave and Reaper John might still be lurking around, waiting for the chaos. So we can't. I guess we can't misbehave totally because Dave is the nicest, both the nicest person at Reaper and the scariest person at Reaper. If you're a puppy, Dave is absolutely the most awesome and nicest person at Reaper, I'm sure, because Dave loves puppies. So yes. Oh yeah, yep. That is a hard disease, Harlex. That happens in dogs too. And it's genetic inherited. But of course, every time you roll the dice, there's a chance that something genetic comes up with humans and with animals. So no matter how good a breeder you are or how much you plan, although you're with your average domestic cat, it truly is random, right? Because it's a lot of random breeding out there. Yeah, it happens early. We've actually in our breed, we had it once in the last decade. It happened in Shiloh's, and it was like, I think the puppy was diagnosed at 6 months and died at 8 months, and it was really a heartbreaker. So yeah, I feel you. That is a really rough, it's just so bad when they go so early. It's so bad. It's just awful. Wow. That's bad, Dragon Eye. If renal failure is getting, humans dressed as tax codes? Where did that come from? What about... Oh, I see. Cats dressed as puppies. Yes. Humans dressed as puppies. Humans dressed as tax codes. I'm pretty sure humans dressed as tax codes would probably get the stink eye from Dave. Especially, when it's around a certain time of year.
Which is right now, right?
Yeah. Now it is because they postponed it. Humans dressed as Rocky dressed as dogs. No, let's just keep going on. Let's the iterations. Early renal disease. Yeah, different from kidney stones. Very different. Yeah, it's all fun, right? Yeah, I get you, Stephanie. All right, well, let's go. We're going to paint some Rocky today just because, my brain cells were so limited. Oh, Kiri, seriously? I was gonna say if she was like seriously gonna go right now, I was just gonna go. I just give up. Just give up. So yes, imminent. Let's just call it imminent on the curiometer.
You should have a Curie meter on the side of the screen.
On the side of the screen, have a Curie meter where we update the chance that Curie's gonna say, "Mama, I need to go out now."
The chance that Curie's butt is going to explode.
Yes, this chance for Curie explosion. Let's see here. I need a couple of reds. I want to get the arm blocked in, and I want to get the wing blocked in, although the membranes are going to be a different color. Doo-doo-doo. We need betting cards. Curie butt bingo.
Somebody has to make, like, on-stream bingo.
Yeah, it's like every time I mention David, John already has a bingo card for that.
David,
Curie's explosions.
Shiloh's.
Yep.
Your book.
My book. I don't mention my book that much. I mentioned it the other day because it was done and it made me happy. Although now it starts the all the other work. The other work has started. Looking up agents and writing down the requirements and making
Overwatch.
custom query levers. We have brought up Overwatch, although not for a while. Yeah, I feel that, Kiriniko. Blorf. And Patreon, that's right. Although Patreon's an easy one to get on a bingo card, because I try to mention it like every other show at least. Hi there, Nomezi. Hey, Dabber. Yeah, it is. We'll definitely get down to finishing. Obviously, we need to finish it. But I wanted to block in the arm, because until I block in the arm, I can't really glue it on. Because trying to glue this on and then trying to get underneath it is just like a pain in the butt. So with things like this, that's always the question. I think I know I've said this before, but we have some new people. So if you're wondering whether to glue your entire model together before you paint it or after you paint it, the answer is, if you put the thing on, does it block access to anything that's going to make it a real big pain to paint later? For me, I felt that it really did block access, and so I need to base coat the chest before we're going to base coat a lot today. We're going to figure out a color for the chest, the ears, and the wing membranes, and we're going to make it the same color. It's probably, I was going for a tan, but now I'm thinking maybe I don't want to, because I've got a strong red-yellow scheme here. So if I want to go analogous, I'll go tan, and then everything will be red and yellow on this piece. But the other option is we could go red, yellow, blue. And you could even go somewhere else if you wanted to. I don't know. We've already got green in the eyes, so our accent color is green. There are certain colors that I wouldn't go. Like, I don't think I would go with a pale green for the belly and the ears, although you possibly could. Purple might be a little dicey because purple is going to be pushing it a little closer to red on the color wheel, although purple does have a complementary with the yellow, so it might not look terrible. But there's definitely choices you can make here that would be better and worse. And you could probably make anything work if you made it pale enough or dark enough, because you want your contrast, right? But there are definitely colors that are going to look better on this model. So let's see here. Yeah, thanks, Iffy. Yeah, we're showing NMM on the chest yesterday, so if you want to catch up on it, that would be yesterday's show. Yeah, I'll be doing a sword too, Jedi Jared, to do stuff. Yeah, Gurgi, orange is a funky one, right? Because if I go tan, that's essentially orange, because browns count as oranges unless they're extremely reddish or extremely yellowish, in general, or even greenish. Some browns are greenish, but most browns, like the tan, like the classic Larry Elmore Red Dragon, where he's got a tan ochre kind of color on most of the membranes and the underside, that's definitely counts as an orange, which is odd and goes even more toward an analogous color scheme, right? So, because then you've got red, orange, yellow. So essentially you've got all warm colors on this piece except for the eyes. Now that does make the eyes stand out even more, so that's an advantage, right? White would be rough because, Deborah, you could go white because you want contrast, right? And we've got a very dark red here. The danger with white, if it was only on the chest, would be that you're drawing the eye down to an area of the model that isn't very important. But you also would probably do these membranes the same color, so that could work. And then, yeah, if you did black, then that makes all that stuff disappear, right? And I was already planning on doing a dark blue or a black down the back scales, remember? So when you're thinking about stuff, think about that too. So if we want to make him a red and black dragon overall, we could do that. We could take the back and take it black, and we could also take the belly black, and those membranes black, and also the membranes on the wing black. And then we'll have gone neutral. So that essentially going with a neutral opens up all your options because you haven't added yet another color onto the model. So then you could add in, you're freed up to add maybe a little bit more accent color or something. Yeah, Lord Zephyrius, I'm having a rocky morning. I just decided I would rather work on the baby dragon than on anything else. This is my comfort pick. Is that it? This is my comfort pick, is the Rocky? Because I do like how he's starting to turn out, and I do want to actually get him to the point where he looks nice. Let me get a bloop, 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 bloop. It's very roughed in, actually. It's not a well-blended treasure chest at all. But Skelsey, this is what I started with yesterday. Now, and you guys all notice too, this gives the lie to that thing that everybody likes to bring up of, oh, NMM only looks good from one angle, right? Because NMM looks good from this angle. It looks good from that angle. It looks good from that angle. So where's the problem? It depends on the item also, though. It does depend on the item. And I've talked before about how viewing angle is obvious on a model, and if you play your NMM to each viewing angle correctly, then NMM looks just fine from different angles. Thank you. So I just want to bring that up because that's what a lot of people will bring up as the counter to why you shouldn't do NMM, and it's it's well, it only looks good from one angle. That's actually not true. Not true at all. So yeah, hi Alpha. Good morning. Cats love socks. So do dogs, but usually to eat. Dragon Eye. So, alright. And maybe Rocky's treasure chest is full of socks. That would be kind of cool. NMMs. Yes. Yeah, the NMMs. So we're going to do more NMMs at some point. But right now, so, yes, you could go black with this. Black is probably your easiest because you're already painting the belly into a shadow. Now, it means you can't really, it's hard to bring out any details down there, but that's also not an important part of the model, so you could totally go that way. And down here, the underside plates on the tail, there's hardly any of them showing, just that tiny little tip. So making them black plays in well, because then you can kind of fire and forget. You don't have to worry about actually painting them much. But yeah, so we should probably pick something interesting and difficult. If we went blue, we'd be going pale blue. I'll tell you guys that. We'd go essentially a black with blue highlights down the back, and then we would go a pale blue on the membranes and the stomach, just because, I want to have some contrast here. I don't know what I'd go on the wings, though, if I did that. Then it'd be hard. You'd probably have to go pale blue on the wings as well, if you wanted to. So, we also got to think about color meanings, right? Red and black is kind of like an evil Rocky. Just because of our cultural associations. So, ice blue would be nice. Yeah, I was kind of thinking it might be fun to try the ice blue and see if it works. Just because it's not conventional, right? It's not the traditional Larry Elmore, and it's not going with a neutral, and it's going with the triadic color scheme, so we'd be going red, yellow, blue. It also works in with doing the back in a dark blue or a black highlighted with blue. So a light blue. So what we're like an ice blue? What do I have? I don't have anything that light because I tend to just mix when I get to that point. So it's probably down to tropical blue plus white. Let's see. Is that blue going to work with this? I think that blue's going to work with this. When you're looking at a color, you want to kind of look at it next to other colors on the model and see. So for us, let's actually remember it looks different in the bottle, so you want to squeeze it out a little bit. And then you've kind of got to decide if that blue is a good match for this. It's a fairly saturated blue. It doesn't look bad against the yellow there. It doesn't look bad actually looks pretty good against the red. So that's not bad. And we're going to, of course, bring it much lighter. We're going to mix white into it if we use it for the chest here. So that would be an unconventional choice, and we can see if we can make it work. And it also, we can use this color to highlight the black scales down the back, so that's awesome too. All right, so let's do that. Let's just block in his chest, and I'm actually going to block it in with the base color, which is tropical blue. This is one of my favorite blues. I like the Bones blues are a little bit green. So they're very easy to shift to teal for highlights, which is nice. If I took the membranes and chest on this dragon teal, David would be super happy because he loves red and teal and thinks they go really well together. It would be a very light teal, though. So we'll see. We'll see what we decide to do. It's all up in the air. I could do the random encounter table, actually, Deborah. I don't know if you knew that I actually have a painting random encounter table. Random color encounter table. But I've already chosen a triadic color scheme. I don't know. I'd have to just roll a d6 on the first step on that table to get one. But then I might come up with something like green, where I really don't feel like it would work very well. I mean, I could make it work, right? I think blue is more interesting, though.
He already has green eyes.
Huh?
He already has green
Yeah,
eyes.
he already has accent color. Yeah. I just didn't want to go too red and green on him. And if I went green, I'd probably go real pale on the belly and introduce some gold as well. So I kind of like doing blue and maybe highlighting it up toward teal and seeing if we can make that work. That could be fun. Let's grab a brush. Today is block-in day for first. Like the blue idea? Okay, Diesel. We got 2 votes for blue. We're going blue. Mostly because we have to make a decision before Kiri explodes. Because I have to, actually be painting when she suddenly stands up and goes, Mama! All right. So we're going to just go ahead and block in. And this is going to look very bright at first, but we're not going to leave this color. We're actually going to highlight it up quite a bit. And we may put some shading into it, just to dim it down a little bit in the shadows. I may mix a tiny bit of walnut brown into it, which can result in a very soft blue, soft gray blue. Corporea, Erin Hartwell does that all the time. That's why her color, Corporeal Shadow, is actually Erin's artist color. It's dragon blue plus walnut in a specific ratio, so that's why we did that color. It was her primary shading color once upon a time. I don't know if it still is, because we painters tend to evolve in our color choices over time. And we tend not to stick with one thing, otherwise life would be boring. So we're here it is a little hard to get behind here, so I could have left the chest off. But there's also a hollow the chest fits into, so it's not too bad. I can get the brush in here pretty easily. And like I said, if I really need to, I can grab some walnut and I can just kind of smoosh it down there. I did a video on this recently, also for the Patreon, which is patreon.com/paintingbig for those who have not checked it out. I got a couple of new patrons this week. Thank you if you're watching. It always makes me excited to get new people. I really hope you learn a lot. And remember that if you did patron me recently, I do it within a day or two. I'll send out an email to you welcoming you, and also I'll ask you if there's anything in particular you're looking to learn. And if you bring up a topic that I've already done, I'll usually tell you how to find it so that you can get to it. And if it's a topic I haven't covered, then I put it on my little list. And eventually we will get to it. All right, so we're blocking in some blue, and we're going to say, well, it doesn't look bad. It's flat right now. It distracts a little bit from the dragon right now, but we'll fix that as we highlight and shade it. I'm going to leave it on the stomach, see if I can get it to work, and then make the judgment call on the membranes. Whenever you put down a color and you're like, well, maybe, but you're just not sure how it's going to turn out because it changes so much as you shade and highlight it. Oh, the color choices. And Astro Squeeze saying he liked something. Oh no, Oh, you liked that one, the video that I just did on getting into difficult places and how to deal with them. Good, Astro Squeeze, good. It's such a simple thing, but I think a lot of painters like me who have been painting for ages, there's all these little things that we do and we kind of just take for granted. We just do it, and we assume everybody else knows because that's really obvious, right? Really obvious, right? But it's not if you're new. So I like to cover those, even though they're simple topics. It's like my color wheel one that I just did too for the $5 tier. It's like people look at color wheels and they get baffled, and it's like, it's really not hard, but if you never had an art background, then it is kind of like you're left thinking that there's some great mystery about color wheels that you might be missing. And there's not. I'm giving away all the Masonic Painter Lodge secrets now, so they're going to come for me soon. Take my card away. Hopefully they won't throw me in dungeons or anything for giving away all the painting secrets. Kind of going to stick my brush behind here now and use my walnut brown, which is 9136. It's a very, very dark brown. It's a black brown, really. Uh-oh, and I stuck my finger in paint. That happens all the time. It's one of those days, guys. One of those days. One of those weeks. And I'm just going to grab this dark color. And for the blue in front of the stomach, I'm going to grab a little bit of this tropical blue, and I'm going to try to mix often I do these little spot mixes. If I just need like a brush full, I'll just mix it on the upper surface here. And if I need it to stick around for a little longer, I'll take a little bit of water and dab it in there. But this lets me get a look at what the shadow color would be if I mixed it. It lets me kind of stuff it down here. I'm kind of making a shadow down here by the back of the chest with this shadow, with this color. This color is probably around 6:1 tropical blue to walnut. It may even be a little bit more tropical blue than that. Walnut has a very heavy impact because it's got so much black in it. So when you mix it with something like blue, if you want the color to stay blue, make sure you've got a lot of blue in there. So I'm just kind of smushing it down in there. The paint's still wet, so it's helping me a bit. I can see there's like a little recess here that I missed, so I can squash some. Wherever there's a little recess, but that it's not important to the model, or it's just a gap, or it's just a dip or it's a place under or behind something where nobody's really going to look at it. Don't worry about painting it the actual color. Just make it a big, deep, dark shadow. Just take the walnut and make it a dark shadow. Nobody is going to look at the back of the pirate chest down there and check to see if you actually painted it the brown that you painted the rest of the chest. It's just going to be in shadow, so putting a dark shadow down there is okay. I'm going to add a little water to this dark mix because I do want to shade a little bit more right behind the chest, because there would be a shadow. Right, because he's right up against this pirate chest, so there would definitely be a shadow here. I could also decide to take this a little bit of a softer blue, but I actually want to keep the saturation decent. And the reason for that is, although he is a dark red at his core, Rocky does come up to some very brilliant colors. Very saturated colors. And so I do want the blue to stay pretty pure. I don't want it to go really dim or gray. So I am only using this walnut mix right behind everything, and I'm going to keep the belly mostly light. And School of Miniature Painting. That's what the Patreon is. I always thought that if my Patreon ever got really big, that what I would want to do is set up a annual painting workshop and use part of the funds to fund it, so that I could afford to get a nice venue, you know, and people, kind of like writing workshops where you come out to some cool place and you spend a week or 5 days or 3 days or whatever, just working on stuff. Like, I always kind of wanted to do that, and it would be like a long weekend class with Anne or something, and, you know, I could use the money to set up a venue, and maybe also to offer scholarships so that people who wouldn't normally be able to come out for something like that would be able to afford it. That's always what I kind of wanted to do. Just gonna line that. Yeah, well, we have a long way to go on the Patreon before that happens, unless I inherit a bunch of money. I suppose that, you know, because there's two schools of thought, right, with these seminars. Like, a lot of times we have to charge quite a bit for it to make it pay, so that we can actually, you know, earn some money off of it. But that's why I kind of always, if I was making a high enough Patreon income, then I could afford to you know, only charge a little for it, or maybe the only charge is that you have to get yourself out there, right, and pay for your meals. Like, you know, I'd like to do something like that didn't require you, because I know people who kind of would like to take some of these high-end seminars, but, you know, the $250 price tag is just a little rich for them because, you know, maybe they just don't have you know, they don't earn a lot of money, or they don't want to spend a lot, you know, because of their lifestyle, and, you know, they're saving money, or they, you know, are a student and can't afford it. So it'd be kind of cool to have something that didn't cost a ton of money, that maybe you submit your painting samples and you know, write up a thing about why you'd like to take the course, and it all gets kind of judged, and then we pick people, and maybe we could do that. That would be kind of fun. I think the same thing about writers' workshops, because they tend to be, you know, a couple $1,000s, and often they're over a week long, and it's like, who with a job, who with your average job can really afford to do this, right? David is running away. Meeting? Yeah. Bummer. My boyfriend has abandoned me. Only temporarily. I'm going to mix up. I've got some white here from yesterday. I actually used my saran wrap trick last night to keep my paint fresh because I only had some pure white mixed up. So I'm going to mix a little bit of a paler blue and see if it's going to be a good highlight for his chest. And now that I've got that on, though, what I really should do is I should block in his little paw here so that we can attach it. Because now that the blue is done, I can attach it without worrying that my paw is going to get in the way. So now I can kind of dry fit that paw in. And I do have a big gap. I'm going to have to green stuff that. So I can at least, but it's not blocking anything. So now I can do that. All right. So let's do that. Let's just get this paw out of the way. I will base coat the paw before I do any green stuff work. But I probably will do green stuff work before I do anything else on the paw. That way it's just a quick base coat to cover the green stuff. And yes, you can use paint directly over green stuff. When I talk about green stuff, I mean epoxy putty. I thought I had some over here, but then I got stuff somewhere else. There it is. Which is green and yellow putty that you'll see people use. It's plumber's putty, but it's sold as green stuff or Kneadatite. And it is what you use if you need to fill a gap and sculpt. If you need to just fill a small gap, there are other putties that are probably easier to use, like Milliput or Aves, or some of the other water-soluble putties. Green stuff is adhesive on its own. In fact, it's more adhesive than any other putty. I've used David's wood putty is interesting because it's a little more like clay. Aves is a bit more like clay. Green stuff is the stickiest of them. Yeah, well, that's the best kind of job, though, Dragon Eye, is when you, like, work your butt off and you end up a... Yeah, exactly, Deborah, yeah. Yeah, not having a real job can be a barrier to entry for any kind of, like, high-priced seminar, right? And it's a shame because it's like you could get some very talented people who could really run with what you teach them, but they can't afford to come, right? And as an instructor... I find, especially as somebody who's very teaching minded, right? That's what I really like to do, is I like to teach. I like to hand people the skills they need and watch them get better and watch them be super happy about actually being able to do something that maybe they didn't believe they could do at first. And so for me, my reward is finding the students who are going to take what I teach them and run with it, who are going to take that chance and believe in themselves and, you know, really, really start painting awesome things and be so happy about it. Like, those are those people. I've done gap filling and green work on here before with the Spirit Beast Gurgi, but this is a very big gap, so, you know, probably, but not today, because I kind of wanted to work with color today. I don't want to, maybe we'll do it tomorrow, because I want everything to dry and to be, you know, pretty set before I do it. So we might do it on camera, but we won't do it today on camera. And I've thinned my paint too much. Even when you wash your bones, if you thin your paint too much, it will not stick very well. Sometimes I just get in my habit of thinning my paint a lot because I always do. And then it backfires when the dragon paw will not stay red. There we go. Much better. Still a little thinned now, but it's not nearly as bad. Doo-doo-doo. I'm just catching up with you guys. Yeah, scholarship mini painting seminar, Dragon Eye. That would be kind of fun. I mean, I like that sort of thing, really. Like I said, I think this hobby is underrated as far as, like, being an art form and how awesome it can be. Not only for your stress levels, but, you know, it actually makes a decent part-time job. There's a lot of people out there who want stuff painted, who aren't willing to paint it themselves or who don't have the time to learn. So I've always told people, this is a decent part-time job. If you need a side hustle and you're willing to put in some time to get better at miniature painting, you could make, you know, a decent little part-time additional chunk per week. It's not going to get rich, but, you know, it's not unwelcome either. It's harder to turn it into a full-time job like Erin Lovejoy and I do. And even me, like, I'm on the verge of, like, I'm making just barely enough to squeak by right now, so that's why I'm preparing a new Patreon stuff to do a new special offer and try to get a few more patrons. Because I would like to be, like, at a point in the Patreon where it's just, like, you know, where I can at least relax a little. Although I am very grateful for being as high as I am. I've been very happy with my Patreon's growth. And I really enjoy making content for it. Like, the Patreon is really, like, the happy space for me. This stream and the Patreon, happy space. I enjoy doing this, the stream for Reaper, and I really enjoy doing my Patreon PDFs and videos. So between the two, I'm a pretty happy freelance Anne right now. I just want to up my income just a little. Well, you know, Alpha, you can just watch it also as a VOD. You always can watch it as a VOD. Just make a note of the date. How do I decide whether to fill before painting or repaint after filling? It really depends. In our, like, usually I will base coat, then put it together, then fill. Because like I said, it's not a big deal to paint over a little bit of fill. And I want to have some color down usually. Because if I'm going to attach this thing, I want to have my underside of it painted so that I don't have to try to squish a brush up there like I was just having to do behind the chest. That's less than ideal. So it's not really what I want to be doing. So usually I want to base coat it and then I'll gap fill it. And so I will probably do some highlighting along, like bring up this blue now. I'll wait for this little arm to dry. Get over there, little arm. And we'll bring up this blue a bit and see what we've got. But we won't bring it up near where the arm would go, obviously, because it's going to be in shadow there. So let me grab, I'm going to guess this is about 4:1 tropical blue to white. I actually grabbed just color out of my previous well and dabbed it over in here, so I don't have a precise ratio for you. But essentially what you want is you want a color that looks significantly lighter. So you can look at the tropical blue here, and you can look at the mixture, and you can see that it's a significantly one shade or thereabouts lighter. Yeah, just, you know, take your time, Harlex. It's not, like, absolutely, you know, evident that you must Patreon me now. I'm not going anywhere. And you could wait for a special offer, too, because what I'm thinking of doing, and I should ask you guys, I'm going to ask my Patreon community, too. Because if you're already a patron, you get access to the special offer stuff, if you're at the right level for it. So what a special offer is when you run, hey, if you sign up now, you get this special thing. And it's, I did it earlier in the year because I made all of my previous year's content free. If you, all previous year's $10 content free to $5 tier if you signed up, you know, from that point on. So that's, if you signed up at $5 and you haven't looked at 2018's $10 content, you should, because it should be all open to you. And that was a special offer I ran back in January, and I really liked that special offer. But now what I was thinking is I would work on Frostgiant Queen, because I'm getting to the point where I really do want to press forward with her. So I thought what I would do is I would do like a set of 3 or 4 videos and PDFs about painting her. So I was thinking I'd do her skin, and I would do like I want to do some crazy Celtic knotwork freehand on her cloth. And then I need one more area that people want me to cover to do like 3 good videos with a companion PDF. And then if you sign up, I don't know, at $5 or $10 level during a certain period, you get all that content as a nice big chunk. Boof. That's what I'm thinking about doing for my next special offer. I'd really like to get it done within the next month. So I'm lightening this up because I really want to see how the color changes. Oh, thanks for the link, Zero. Yay, Zero! That's good, Gergie, because that's what I hope to do. Like, that's what I really want people to do, because that's what I love about going, like, to workshops, be they writing workshops or painting workshops, is it gets me excited again. It gets me, like, really jonesed to do something, to go out and paint something, right? That's what I hope. If that does it for you, then I'm meeting my goal. That's exactly what I hope for. I never want to discourage people. I always wanted you to leave excited about the hobby and believing that you can do whatever it is I'm showing you. So much of this stuff is just time. And if you really want to learn to do crazy freehand, or you really want to learn, you know, any given a smooth blending or you know, different like color to get better at color choices, all that stuff. A lot of it is just, you know, experience, and until you get to the point where you can make those calls and you internalize the process. There's very little mystical about it. Like, maybe that spark of inspiration that gives somebody a truly amazing idea for a miniature or a diorama or something might be individual. But everything else, like, you can go as far as you want to go with this hobby. Like, do not ever think that you cannot get to my level, because you can. I know, I've taught people who did. So never doubt yourself. If you really want to learn to paint to a point where you're really happy with your level of talent, that's totally achievable. Doesn't matter how far you want to go. You want to be one of the best in the world, it's absolutely achievable. Online workshop, I've thought about that, Sethany. I'd have to figure out, like, the right way to do it. It would be, I mean, right now I do coaching with my Patreon. Actually, I took down the coaching level, but I'm about to put up a new one. And that's kind of like a one-on-one workshop. I think I like that a little better virtually, like, because I feel like if I'm going to do something virtually, I really need to spend time. Like, when I'm in person doing a workshop, I really like to spend individual time with every single person to see what they're doing, troubleshoot, and help them. And not every instructor does, I know, in the big workshops. But that's what I find rewarding. And that's hard to do online without, you know, boring the world. So I'd have to come up with a format for that. I am very disappointed. Like, COVID has definitely stopped me from doing in-person workshops. And I really was excited to do some of those when I came out here. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, Gergie. Like, kind of like the paint-along we have now at $15 level, but do it live. Live so that people could ask questions and see the process in person and stuff like that. I'd have to actually get my own Twitch up or something. Actually, I'd have to make that. The problem with that is making it private, right? Because you got to use a meeting format that allows private but still chat. And I think the one that Patreon uses for its annual thing, or its monthly hang times, might be the right one. I forget which. Crowdcast, I think it is, which you have to pay for if you're going to use it. See, I had a little dimple in the paint right there, so I had to use my knife to take it off, and now I'm going to have to fill it. I might need to use primer for that. We'll see. Sometimes thicker paint will suffice, depending on how thick the paint was already. But you got to cover up the scar that you made. So I'm pretty fearless about gouging into my paint job. I mean, I figure I can always cover it up one way or another. This might be a little hard. We'll see. I'm mucking around with it, trying to figure out if there's going to be another pebble of paint left there that I'm going to have to take off. Can see the little irregularity there that I left. So we'll see. Hey, Core Hacks. Yeah, I've been looking at Zoom a lot. I'm a little concerned with their security issues they've had. That's a bummer, Diesel. Yeah, sometimes, well, and that will happen, right? Sometimes that's why you should watch a bunch of people, and you should go to a bunch of classes, or, you know, experience a bunch of different instructors, because sometimes an instructor just won't be your kind of instructor, right? That it won't be the kind of person that really you get a lot. Their teaching style won't be the right style for you. And that's totally apart from whether they're a good teacher in general. It just could be that the personality is wrong for you. So, and gosh knows, you know, there are all sorts of mini painters on this earth. Although, lately, I just haven't seen as many prima donnas. There was a problem, I think, back in the day. I felt like we had a lot of people who were had their ego tied to their work a little bit too much. It's like, and you should be proud of your work, but try not to, like, tie your self-image to the point where you get really aggressive or you know, negative about other people. I personally am always been in the, I'm going to do my best work, and if I don't win or I don't, you know, get the recognition that I want, well, then I'm just going to try again. But some people take it personally. And that's, I just don't appreciate that sort of attitude. It's art. It's going to be subjective. You could do an awesome piece, and it may not resonate with some people, and that's okay. All right, so we've lightened up his belly a bit more, and I'm liking it a little bit more now. And I'm using layering to do this. So I'm thinning my paint. I'm also using a color that's fairly similar to my starting color, so it's pretty easy to get smoother blends. Let me get close so you guys can see the brush strokes here. Let's see. Come on, Rocky. Give us closeness. Yeah, you can kind of see the brush strokes. But this is essentially the way you smooth blend. So you take thinned paint and a brush with a really good sharp tip. And the thinner your paint, the more transparent the layers are going to be. And the thicker the paint, the more you usually can see the layers. But if your colors are really close together, like my blues are here, then you don't have to thin your paint as much to get a smooth blend. And you are essentially, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Password protected rooms. Oh, which they made mandatory. That's good, Stephanie. That addresses my security problem. Excellent. All right, I'll look into Zoom. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's not the same as a student, and it's not the same as a teacher. I believe it's Stephanie. Yeah. There was a whole bunch of issues, Kuroniko. But now that they're password protecting everything mandatory, then your average person won't be able to hack it, one hopes. I'm sure a determined hacker could still do it, but it makes me more likely to do it. So you grab your paint, you clean most of it off your brush. You want to be able to do a nice fine line. I need a darker surface. I cannot show my fine line. Grrr. I had a thing the other day. Where was it? Now I'm making disgruntled baby hydra noises at you all because I want to show how thin my line is. And now my paint is drying in my brush. No! Insert zoom car commercial, yes. Zoom. So you want to be able to draw, there we go. Thin lines. You don't want to see a lot of puddling or pooling. You want to be able to draw thin lines. Your brush should be sharp, like so. It should have just a little paint on it. See how little paint I have? Also, sorry, I flashed a GW Commissar at you. We'll put her arm back here. Stay. All right. It was just the closest thing that was dark that I could make lines on. Oh, right, Stephanie. Yeah, I could see that. Because you're like, well, move your right foot out a little bit. No, not that way. Right? Yeah. Heresy? Yes, heresy, because I put a Games Workshop model on the stream. Shh, don't tell Ed. Alright, so you've got very little paint on your brush. You can draw really thin lines, and your paint is very similar to your previous paint. So you can essentially start drawing where you start the highlight, and then where you want to end your stroke, where you want the highlight to sit the strongest. Because when you pick up your brush, you're going to leave a little puddle of paint, just a little tiny microscopic dab, right? Because you lift up your brush and you leave a little bit of paint there. So that's what creates the appearance of the blend, is you start your stroke and it's pretty transparent, and when you pick up your brush, then you can see the little bit of heavier paint deposited. And then in your next run round, you make your stroke a little shorter. You don't start it up as high. You're always building a topographical map. So you start out making your stroke up here, then you make your stroke shorter, then you make your stroke shorter. And you can either build up layers of the same light color, or you can switch to a lighter color as you get smaller. And it depends on what you're trying to do. So here I could mix up a new color. Uh-oh, I heard a dog sound. Maybe time. Oh, she's sleeping, but she's kind of horfing in her sleep. We'll see. If she wakes up, we'll probably have to run outside. So I'm mixing a very much lighter color. You can see it's kind of blue water. As you add white, you need to add more water to get smooth blends. If you try to blend with a very light color without adding a lot of water, you are going to be doomed to show brush strokes. I know, that doesn't sound like you're really doomed. Ah, my stupid god. You know, sometimes I hate Windows. Can I just say that? Oh, let's see. Yeah, brush and paint physics. Learning why the paint acts the way it does and learning what different brush shapes are good for. So now if I want this light color, I can make it a very short stroke. I'm still leaving a stronger puddle of paint right on the very edge of this area because this is where I want the light to fall. And if I go down here, I can do the same. If you also, I should mention, one of the things that I see most often about layering is that people do not, or they thin their paint too much. If you put on a layer and you can't see it at all, your paint is too thin. Go back, add a little bit of paint. All right, so there. So now that lighter color is really coming up toward the edge of the scales. Really watery. See-through. You want it see-through. See it? And that's even maybe a little strong, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, like that's definitely, like if you feel like you're painting with a wash, you're doing it right. Because that's pretty much what you are doing. I want to bring up a little bit of highlight down here. Because he's going to have his paw there, but there's going to be a little bit of light coming in this area because I'm going to use a little bit of my foundation blue here. Thin it down. There's a little bit of light here because his shoulder is turned out here, so there's going to be some light coming in here. So I do want to highlight that area just a little bit. We have not set the AMA. I need to figure out what my giveaway is. Actually, I need to grab a sticky note and put that right in front of me with a big gigantic flag. This is how I remember to do anything because my to-do list is 60 miles long at this point. AMA models and paints. Yeah, but we have not set it yet because I need time to figure out. Boop. Figure out what we're going to give away. And part of that is figuring out what we have in stock because we don't want to give away stuff that is not in stock. So sometimes I have to go... if you add too much water to paint and it breaks, does adding paint fix it? Yeah, adding paint fixes it. You might just need to add tiny bits. Like, I would almost mix up a thicker puddle of paint. Like, this is why I kind of do what I do. Where I grab, instead of making a whole new puddle, I just grabbed this and then some white and I made this puddle. That means that if I need more paint, I can go back to here where the paint isn't as thin and I can just add little bits of it until I tune it exactly the way I want it. It means that this puddle is very small, but I don't expect to need this puddle for very long right now. In the future, if I decide to do the ears this way, and I'm kind of leaning toward that idea, then I may need to remix this color. But as it's only tropical blue and pure white, it's going to be really easy to remix this color. So, things like that. Let me grab some of this. I think the other thing that I haven't done that I thought about doing is actually bringing this up with more of a teal instead of just adding white. So maybe we'll grab some yellow and or some greenish blue and see if we like that look. His pale blue looks okay. It's not bad. Let me see. Where is a good color for this? There are so many good colors to bring teal in to a model like this that we make. We make so many good ones. Surf Aqua is the obvious, but mint green may be a good one for this. Let's add a little bit of teal. Yeah, he's already got eyes that are green, so we do have that as an accent color. So actually doing teal down here is gonna not go very well with the green eyes, because it's too close on the color wheel. But since they're separated by red, which is, as you point out, the complement, it may work. So we're going to look. We're going to see. I'm just going to add a little bit of mint green, 9263. Mint green is a really nice color if you want to mix it into your blues to make a bit of a teal, to highlight an area. It makes a pretty color, and it's also very light. Here I need to mix up a little bit more of my white. Too much, actually, Androcrat, it means you got too much on your brush. When you load up a brush with really thin paint, you got to get it off. See, I'm getting lots of blobs here. So I want it to get off, and you need to unload your brush. Like, look at this. I'm unloading, I'm unloading, I'm unloading, I'm unloading. Now, can I draw a fine line? Now I have perfect. Now I'm perfect. See, that even looks like a blend. See how it starts slight and then it ends with a heavier stroke right here? You can see that blend. Perfect. So if you are getting tea stains and blobs, it's actually not your paint. It is that you have not unloaded your brush enough. You want to always unload your brush so you can do an even streak without these blobs showing up. Yeah, too much paint on the brush. Brush mechanics are a large part of getting anything to work, because it comes down at that point to brush stroke, to the elements, the mechanical elements of your brush, of your paint and your brush stroke and your brush loading. Something that a lot of painters don't talk a lot about, which I try to talk about it because it is so important. And it's usually the solution if you're having problems. So I know from doing that on my fingernail that this paint is actually perfect. So let's put a greenish tinge onto this. I was going to go over my previous highlight and build it up a little bit, because it's not going to be very green right out the gate because the paint is so thin. So I might have to build up a couple layers to get that greenish hue. But you can see that it's shifting a little bit. Excellent. But yeah, so you want your paint real thin. And then you got to get it all off your brush, though. If you see pooling, it's not the paint's fault. Just unload your brush. Let's see here. I'm going to go up a little bit more and bring it down. If your paint is suitably thin, it's just going to give a little bit of a fog almost when you brush it over that surface. And then making the next layer a little smaller and a little smaller after that is how you build up your smooth layering. If we decide that we really want to take this toward green and we think we're moving too slowly, we can glaze. I probably wouldn't glaze with something this pale though. The whiter or the lighter the color you try to glaze with, the harder it is to get a smooth layer because the white wants to be very opaque. So I probably would go to Phantom Glow, which is the darker version of mint green. As you can see, they're very similar, but this one is a darker color. Darker colors are always easier to glaze with. And if you get chalkiness from using lighter colors, glazing with a darker color is the answer to totally wipe out that chalkiness. Yeah. Yeah, there can be too much water in your brush. There can be too much paint in your brush. And so study your brush loading. Actually, what I advised someone the other day in my Patreon Discord was that you should do some exercises. Like, get out some walnut brown and then get out, like, some medium color like dragon blue or whatever, or a red or a lighter brown. And mix up, like, several puddles of paint, each one thinned a little bit more. Then take your brush and see what kind of lines you can draw on, like, say, a paper plate, or a piece of paper. You can even prime that surface if you want so that you get more of the right experience, what you would get working on a model. And in that way, looking at the paint in each well and how thick it is, and then looking at the kind of line you can draw and try to unload your brush more and see what you can do, you're going to get a much better feel. You'll start to internalize the paint consistency that you need to pull off certain things. All right, so I've got this. I'm going to throw a bunch of water into it because glaze. Glazes are usually at least 2 to 1. Or 1 to 2, sorry, paint to water. So much more water than paint. You want something really thin. You want it to be colored water. So let's move to a different fingernail. So colored water. Very colored water. Can hardly see. The amount that it colors the surface of the fingernail or the palette when you smear it across it is the amount it's going to color the paint you put it over. So here, if we brush this over the top very quickly, in a thin layer, we do not want it to pool, so if you see it pooling anywhere, wick it off. But I don't think I've got it. If you use little enough on your brush, you can actually glaze without having to wick off any excess. You're just going to add a real quick layer. And I wish that this was working a little better. Let's see here. It is actually shifting green, but it's hard for you guys to see because it's really subtle. Let's see here. Do I want to go this way? Yeah, you can see it there. All right, so see how this one is slightly green. More green than that. So that's how subtle glazing can be. But you want it this way. Because if you want it more green, you can always do another layer. You can always pick up more glaze and do it again. So, all right, let's do it again. Boom, 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 boom. I gotta make sure to pull off any excess. The other thing that this glaze is going to be doing is not just making it greener, it's also going to be, notice how it's evening out our shadows and highlights. So it's making our shadows less dark. See? Difference? And it's making our highlights less light. You can see that difference too. So if you glaze a couple times, you may need to re-highlight on the edge of where you were. You bring up your highest highlight again, essentially. Wait until your glaze dries before you do it, though. Otherwise, you risk skinning it up, making it kind of come up in a strip because it's only partially dried. I did want to bring more white into my palette, didn't I? So yeah, so that's what glazing does. It shifts color and it blends things in. The other thing it's doing is hiding my brush strokes because it's equalizing my shadows and highlights. So downside is you have to re-highlight usually and you may need to reshade. Upside is it hides your brush strokes. It lets you shift color and it lets you blend things in a little better. So I am going to add more white to my palette. I need to base coat these wings too and see how the blue looks on those. There. So now I have to ask myself, do I like that tealy look? Or do I like the original blue a little better? Hard call. I think I might like the tealy look. It makes me want to make his eyes teal instead of green, though. Alright, I'm going to take this off of here again. Boom. Alrighty, I need to re-highlight that edge. Boop. Get a little closer so you guys can see. I'm getting a little bit of paint blobbing here. A little bit of pooling, puddling, because I have too much paint on my brush. It may not look like it, but I do. When I'm doing the final highlight, I don't so much mind that because I want a strong highlight on the edge of the scale anyway. So I'll kind of decide if I need to blend that in a little bit better as I get over there. This guy up here, I need to bring in the teal. I have to ask myself if this is maybe a little bit bright, but I don't know. I'm not minding it. I need to bring up the red a lot more all in this area. Part of what's throwing me off here is that I don't have all the red highlighted. So I'm unable to like compare this this front to like an area like here. Or an area like back here. So that makes it a little bit harder to figure out if I like this teal belly. Although I think I do. I'm kind of feeling like I like it. And again, with glazing, it's easy to adjust, right? Like, if I decided in the end I didn't like the teal, I could take some clear blue and just bring it back toward blue. I could also make it more muted if I decided that I didn't want it like this bright. If I decided that it's fighting just a little bit with my other stuff, I could come in and essentially like take even a brown or something really thin down and go over the top of it to mute it down. So I could go that, or a gray if I wanted to go straight up, but sometimes it's better to try to mute things with the complementary color than it is with a gray. I wouldn't want to knock this down too much. Just putting a little bit more teal on there, a little bit more teal down here.
I like that blue, Miss Ann.
Oh, okay, so Justin's got vote for the blue. He likes it, guys. Yeah, we were debating whether it worked, but we think it will. So I'm going to actually block in the wings then. Doo-doo-doo. Because we're going to make all the membranes that color then. Woohoo! Yes, okay, Crowley Hamster likes it too. So if you like how it looks, let me get my camera readjusted here. There we go. Let's look at it kind of. Yeah. It works because it's light enough. It's a nice contrast, and once I get all of these scales highlighted, it will look better. Once I get the orange in there, it'll be complementary to, remember, this is a sneaky case of complementary color highlighting. Even though I'm not going green here to be with the red, I can put orange highlights on the back, and I am putting orange highlights on the back, you'll remember, and those are complementary to the blues, so they will act in that way. So you don't have to use complementary colors overtly. You can sneak them in. So, like, I could shade this red with purple and sneak in a complement to the gold. Things like that. I like doing sneaky things like that for complementaries. Yeah, we were saying that we definitely behave too well, Justin, if you feel you can leave us alone like this. We're obviously doing something wrong.
I mean, this is, of all the shows, I think this is the one that it still gives me anxiety to walk away from it for any period of time, but I do feel more confident walking away from this one than I do any others.
Well, that's just because Ed and Ron can just, go into a nosedive at any moment, talking about weird stuff.
Yes, and so can Sadie, especially Sadie on Painting Platinum.
Oh, right.
She loves her crazy topics. She loves them.
I know. Well, that's half the fun, though, is that Sadie actually watches all those crazy talk shows. Like, the things that girl can talk about. It's crazy. But yes, that's definitely, that's what makes Sadie unique.
I completely agree.
Alrighty, so we're going to pop in this blue on these membranes, then we're going to put our dark red next to it. We just got to do I want to do a quick base coat, because I do, just like everybody is saying, attach the arm. I want to attach the arm, and I want to attach the wings at this point. I'm getting to the point where if everything is attached, I can tackle highlighting over a large area, and get a lot done in one session, so this is appealing to me. I do paint on Sprue a lot. You guys will notice I'm painting on Sprue. And some painters really don't like to do that. They like to cut it off and get the thing all cleaned up and stuff, and they don't like to do it this way. But I find with smaller parts, it's much more convenient to paint on the Sprue, because then I have something to hold on to. I do a lot with, like, say, Games Workshop models, where they often have, like, the weapon and the scabbard and stuff like that on a separate Sprue, especially with their resin. And it's just so much easier to just prime the whole Sprue and just maybe clean up a couple of joins at the end, and have something to hold onto while you paint the tiny bits. So these wings are bigger, but it would still be a pain to hang on to them while I painted them. So leaving them on this Sprue is a good idea. Conspiracies with Clever Crow. Oh, I don't know, conspiracy theories with Sadie maybe, although I don't think any of our people are really into conspiracy theories. Like, none of the ones who stream anyway. There's a Reaper employee who is.
Oh, and boy is he.
Oh yeah, he is totally into it. We would not want to give him his own show. That's not what Reaper is aiming for on his Twitch. Plus, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there already doing it. I never understood the whole conspiracy theories. I think that life is weird enough, and you don't have to try to make it weirder. There we are. All right. The bone actually bone. So, like, well, this isn't bone. This is just the structure of the wing. If you mean the things like the horns, probably I'm gonna go with bone, but I haven't quite decided. It depends on how these top scales turn out, because remember, I want to go dark with these. And if I go dark with these, it makes sense to make the spikes in bone, because they're gonna stick out, right? Likewise, if I make usually with spikes and horns, I go the same color as I'm gonna go with claws and teeth, or at least with claws. Teeth always are white. But almost. I should say almost. A qualifier. I have made dark teeth once. But so to make everything go together, I'll repeat the colors I'm using. So claws and teeth usually, or claws and horns are usually around the same color. Let's see here. Sadie is curious and interested about everything in the world, Sharky. Alrighty. Sadie's a very open-minded person in a lot of ways. Righty. So that membrane folds over the other one there, so you kind of lose the strut of that wing, although you get the start of it, so I'll have to fix that when I get in on it. But these little claws here will probably go, they'll go whatever the horns and the claws on the feet are. No, they're not bones. I mean they are bones, right? Because they're the struts of the wing, but they're not going to be a bone color, no. Only the claw. They're going to be red. I just had the blue out, so I was like, let's put the blue on first. Got our happy little dark red, so we can pop that over the struts. But yeah, just like with bats, this would be a layer of skin over the wing, I agree. I just decided not to do the red first. There we go. I could have painted the red first and it would have been easier. But then I would have had to put that light blue over the red. And it's easier to paint this red over that blue. Blues tend to be a little bit transparent. Reds do too, but this red has walnut mixed into it. And Asmodeus red is actually a pretty decent coverage anyway. And then when you mix walnut into it, walnut is excellent coverage. So you get a little bit of both. So when you're mixing colors together, you can also think about that. You can think about when you are like, oh, well, I need to darken this color to get a slightly darker version for a base coat. You can also think about, well, what dark color can I use to make this darker that has great coverage so that it will also increase its coverage? Thinking about things like that. Because many dark colors are semi-transparent, which makes them excellent for washes and glazes, but can make them a little bit more difficult for base coats sometimes. All right. Got some nice dark red. Oh, yay. Am I on every morning? Yeah. I'm on every morning from 11:30 Central till around 1 Central. I try to do about an hour and a half. Usually is long enough for us to get a fair amount done in a stream. Yay. Boom. If I paint a little over the claw, it's not a big deal, because I'm going to paint the claw dark probably anyway before I bring it up. But you see how much easier it is to paint this on the sprue. Sometimes, of course, the wings have been knocked around and they fall off the sprue, and then it's like, oh. Technically, you could glue them back on and then just cut them off again, if you wanted to. Or you could pin them and stick the pins into something that you can hold on to. I know a lot of people who do that rather than paint on the sprue. Boop. Hey, and at this point, I have to say, if we came up with a dog emergency, I'd have to just end the stream, because she's actually been good for almost all the stream. I've now cursed us.
I was about to say, you just jinxed it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I was worried about that on my drive home. I was thinking about your text message. I was like, oh gosh, I gotta...
Yeah, there was a very high percentage chance of dog emergency today, but she has decided to thwart my expectations, even though I was all ready. I was all prepared. I have the leash right out there. I've got everything set up just in case, but she decided to nap instead. Although I will probably have to rush her outside right after. Alrighty, got our red blocking in here. You guys may also notice something that I talk about a lot. When it comes to brush control, I did a Patreon thing about this too. But notice how I'm moving the wings around more than I'm moving my brush hand around. Like, my brush hand is always kind of in this arc. It doesn't really go, yeah, I painted myself. I don't try to, do a bunch of this. I'm always moving the model instead. And that's key if you don't have great brush control and you're trying to improve on it. Try to always keep your hand in a comfortable position and use a limited range of motion. And try to use the same stroke. You're going to notice I'm doing a lot of long, thin strokes here. If you do that, it's going to help you build brush control a lot faster than if you are contorting your hand or trying to paint from different angles. Instead, move the model itself around so that you can always keep your brush in roughly the same position. And that, essentially, is building muscle memory, which is what brush control is. So, think about that when you're painting. Think about how you're holding your brush, what angle you hold it at. Is it comfortable? Is that the brush angle that you use all the time, or are you kind of like getting outside of your brush comfort zone? Always try to have your brush in roughly the same position. I vary in like a maybe up to a 90-degree arc, but not really. Most of my brush position is within the same 45-degree arc, I would say. I just always want to move the model so I can always be doing this stroke. And essentially, you do this stroke long enough, that's when you get amazing brush control where you can do really fine details. Because your muscle memory is just so dialed in. Yeah, this is actually a mixture of Asmodeus and walnut. It's about, I want to say 3 Asmodeus to 1 walnut. Maybe actually like 4 or 5 Asmodeus to 1 walnut. Essentially, I wanted just a bit of a darker red, but I love Asmodeus red, and I wanted this to be the key color. So, just added a little bit of walnut to it. Walnut has a little bit of reddish-brown pigment in it, so it works very well as a darkener for dark reds. Let's see here. A lot of lurking, Sharky. Yes. Yeah, Strange. We do have different shows on too that are different. Mine is probably the most knowledge intensive show. For people who are really wanting to learn more about the mechanics of painting. Michael Proctor's Crow's Nest is, he just covers all sorts of topics, doesn't he, Justin?
Yeah, that feels more like a talk show where we have someone on, but they still talk about their craft in lots of different ways. It's still it is heavy on knowledge, but not like this. This is instructional, and this is designed to be primarily knowledge. That is more of a knowledge is second or third, basically.
Yeah, because it's hanging out with like our artists and our sculptors and stuff. So it's fun and cool, and a different perspective, and not as nuts and bolts as my show. My show is very nuts and bolts. But that's what I love about it. I mean, that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I like to demystify the painting process and make you guys maybe think about some of the basic things you do, like brush position, that can help you become better painters. Yeah, and Sadie's the show where there are no rails. Sadie is pure talk show. Sadie's just come and hang out and talk about all the weird things under the sun. Because, the thing about making a new Twitch channel, since Reaper's channel was relatively new, what did we start a year and a half ago, Justin? Or 2 years ago, just slightly? During the Kickstarter, wasn't it?
Let me think. It wasn't during the Kickstarter. It was. The first thing we streamed as a part of the department was when it was Brian, and we were doing the Kickstarter party for Bones 4.
Yeah, 4. Right. Okay, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
that's right.
That was like my second week in the department.
Yeah, and then that's right, because we already had streams going before we got to the Bones 5, etc.
Correct.
So yeah, so it's been a while. But since it is still relatively new channel, we're still trying stuff on Reaper to see what works. So there are some people who really like Sadie's show, and there are some people who like more of Michael's talk show kind of format and like to hear the sculptors talk about what they do, and stuff like that. And then there are people who like my show because it's pretty much just a knowledge bomb. A non-stop knowledge bomb with dog emergencies, interruptions. And sometimes we talk about cooking. I'm going to make ribeye tonight, Justin.
Ooh.
Yeah, we hadn't had steak for a while.
and then post it on the show tomorrow so we can all see it.
If it looks really photogenic. I made ribs on 4th of July for the first time. That was my proud moment, as I haven't done ribs before, and they turned out perfectly.
Were they in the Instapot or were they?
I did oven. I actually did oven because
okay.
we were low on propane, and I knew that they were going to have to go for like 5 or 6 hours at a really low temp. So I didn't know how much propane we were going to use up. I didn't want to get stuck in the middle. I also kind of just wanted to see if I could make them, and then because I'm still not very familiar with the grill, right? I'm not confident with it. So, and keeping a consistent temperature with the grill can be harder.
I completely agree.
Yeah, so I decided to do the oven and do low and slow. It went almost 6 hours, and it was a rack of baby backs, and they turned out really well. So now I feel like maybe I could try it on the grill. But then it would be a lot more babysitting, too. So again, notice, I'm keeping my hand with the same stroke, guys. I'm moving the wing, not moving my hand. Keep your hand at roughly the same angle. Don't ever make your hand paint in an uncomfortable position. It will not help your muscle memory. It also won't just help, any pain that you may get in your hand, because carpal tunnel, it's a thing. Try not to clamp down on your brush too much, too. Keep it loose. Keep it loose. Loose is going to be a lot less shaky. All right, so let me just catch that I got all of the parts that I wanted to catch. We're almost to the end of the stream. At least we've set up the wings to do a bit, but I can do a little bit of highlighting here. The wings may need a second coat of blue looking at them. But yeah, I keep thinking about switching to a different model, and then I'm like, well, I want to make more progress on Rocky. But everybody loves Rocky, so I don't feel too bad about it. So I may go back to Fire Giant for a bit. I don't know. I've got really cool stuff that I'm thinking about working on, so. Gold metallic or bronze metallic goes well with the dark purple Harlex, but you could also go with steel. Steel's a neutral, right? Silver and steel are neutral colors. They're gray. And because of that, they go with almost everything. But with a dark purple, a bright silver would look good, but so would a dark or bright gold or a bronze. Copper even looks good because it's orange, and purple and orange go well together. So it depends on what you're doing. I could wet blend this a bit. Let's do that. Oh, except that I went green earlier, didn't I? I usually go paler toward the middle of the wing to show translucency. Because usually when the wing is stretched out, you've got more transparency. I may need to glaze this with the greenish. What were we using? We were using Phantom Glow as a glaze to get the greenish hue. Uh-oh, little particulate bits in my paint. Oh yeah, and then there's Miniatures Monday, that's right. Yes, and Reaper Live. Reaper Live is Ed and Ron holding forth.
Court in big quotations.
Yes.
Huge disclaimer on that one.
What's your most unpredictable show, Justin?
Oh, God. Honestly, unpredictable. Ones that actually keep me on edge, genuinely, is probably Sadie's.
Yeah.
That's just because we talk about stuff ahead of time, but she gets real bold sometimes, and she'll decide to talk about X or Y or say something in the show, and I often have to kind of think about what she's saying immediately, and then go, okay, she's good about keeping it okay. However, she knows where the line is.
She'll bring up controversial topics, though.
Yeah, and she loves towing that line, I will say.
I think she just wants to keep you on your toes.
As far as biggest, as far as show that like probably is unpredictable from a technical side of things, and it can be stressful for different reasons, that's Reaper Live by far.
Oh yeah, for sure.
my vacation shows, as it were, the ones that I feel like kind of almost run themselves, are this one, Probably Proctor's, because that's just conversational on my end for the most part,
Yep.
without his internet issues that come up.
Right.
And yeah, it's about Reaper. Reaperland kind of falls in the middle of all of that.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that. It's interesting. Yeah, we're just too good, guys. We're gonna have to think. Okay, guys, I want you to all start thinking about a prank we can play on Justin.
Oh gosh.
Oh dear. We should just like have a show where it's just a costume party and everybody sends in pictures of their dog dressed up, or their cat, or themselves. If they don't have a dog or a cat, I don't know. We should do something wacky though. Alrighty. Well, we at least have this blue blocked in. We have the wings actually base coated. Now I can stick them on. Well, except for the little claws, but that's good enough. It's good enough. You want to, wings can be a pain to paint once they're in place. So unless you're going to keep them really simple, and these probably are going to be really simple, you really want to paint them separately and then glue them on. Even if it means gap filling around the sockets, it's much easier to paint these big wide spaces if you're going to do anything fancy at all, like a pattern or something. It's much easier to paint them out the gate, like when they're like on a sprue or sitting in your hand, than it is to paint them when they're on the mini. So always think of that when you're painting your wings. Otherwise you may end up with these big expanses of like nothing, because it's just so much of a pain to paint designs or patterns or highlight and shade them when they're on the model. For me, I can kind of set up maybe with a wet blend, or I can look at these and say, well, they're pretty simple. They've got little kind of striations that are sculpted on them. So if I just do a simple highlighting pattern there, it isn't too bad. So I can probably paint these when they're actually on Rocky. Have the dog paint a mini. That would be Kiri licking a mini. She would lick it once and go away. Kiri's the fastest painter ever. Oh, I gotta touch up this other wing. It got some nicks on it. Sweet. Alrighty. Well, is there anybody interesting out there streaming right now, Justin?
Oh, there's lots of people interesting that are streaming. Now, let me see if any of them fit our bill.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Well, there's the old faithful default of Miniatures Den, but let me see if there's something else.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe we do somebody we don't normally. Although it's difficult. It's difficult sometimes when we take a chance on a new person. We aren't quite sure like how they're going to be, or if they swear a lot on their stream, or stuff like that. Who was it? It was the oil painting guy, I think, or that I was looking at the other day, who was streaming, but he was streaming a little earlier. The one who starts with an SC.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. Uh-oh. Tail sign. So you better find it fast. Miniatures dead if it has to be. Because Kiri's going, so I'm going to be going.
Oh, let's do Glorious Badger.
Sounds great. Okay, guys. Say hi to everybody. I have to let my dog out. I love you all. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye!
Well, while we send this raid off, guys, it's we got oh, is Dices actually streaming right now? Let's see. She didn't pop up on my thing. She's not showing as online for me. That's weird. There we go. She just popped up. Okay. Well, that was odd. All right. Well, I don't mind rating Dices. She is awesome, and that's definitely a part of our community. And I think she helps keep the community awesome, just like Holly does, and all Miniatures Dan and all you fantastic miniature painters out there. But thank you guys for coming out. And sorry we had to end so abruptly on a dog emergency, but it does happen. The next show will be tomorrow in the morning for Ann's show. And then we have Painting Platinum, and then we have Reaper Live at 6 o'clock for our normal Thursday panel. So make sure you guys tune in for that. How you doing, Frank? I didn't see you till now. But all right, guys. Well, keep being awesome. Spread the Reaper love. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for Anne's. I assume we'll do the Rocky Dragon again. I assume. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you guys very much.